Welcome to the Forward Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Shepard. Here's my wife.
Hello, everybody.
Getting into another week of fixing your world because we have our world figured out and we want to fix yours.
We've got it all together. Obviously.
Obviously.
All together.
Look, if you've tuned in every week, you're either like, wow, these two are crazy, and or we really have you fooled.
Yeah, either one.
Either way. We don't fool each other.
We don't fool each other?
Yeah. I've got you figured out, girl.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You said, all right. Hey, this week we're going to be talking about some questions that have come in here recently.
Mm-hmm.
Carrie's compiled a couple of these that we're trying to help some of our faithful listeners out. And then we just kind of compiled them like, hey, these are a couple. We don't want to get deep, and actually we don't want to be really long on this episode, but there are a couple tips that I think we can give, especially for young parents, grandparents, single people. Who am I missing?
Oh, my goodness.
Everybody. This is for everyone. So, Carol, let's jump in. A couple questions that we've had here recently. What do you think?
These all kind of fall under the category of parenting. And that's such an important topic right now, especially I feel like a lot of opinions are out there online and it's difficult to kind of narrow it down. So we just came up with 3 things that we get asked about the most and want to kind of walk through some of them. So the first one is parenting when you don't agree with your spouse. If you're in a married relationship and you're, both raising children in the home together, what do you do when you don't agree with their parenting? That's tough. That's a tough one.
I'm going to solve this in 10 seconds. You just listen to husband. He knows what's right. Just do whatever he says. And
who is not shocked
life,
that he said
life
this.
Is wonderful and great.
You
can
Baptist.
move on. It's biblical. It's in there. 1 Thomas chapter number 3.
Amen.
Verse number 18.
Thank you for that. Moving on. Next point.
Next question.
He's out of the podcast.
I'm voted off.
Voted off the island.
Cool. What do you think, Kara? Like there has definitely been, even recently, things that you and I don't agree on when it comes to parenting. I would say, what do you think the percentage is? Let me ask you this first, of their major things and their minor.
Yeah.
It's not like, we disagree on something big and like life-changing versus something that's kind of minute, small. We just don't agree. What do you think that percentage is of things we don't agree on? Do you think the percentage is heavy, big things or small things?
I think it's pretty small. I don't think we disagree on a lot, but I think we probably disagree more on smaller things than we do big things.
I was going to say the same thing.
Were you? Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it can be just the little decisions. We're opposites, of course. I feel like we're always opposites, but in bigger things, you are a little more lax and like trusting. And in smaller things, I'm a little more lax. Like it doesn't bother me when the kids run in and out of the house in the summer. They're tracking in grass and stuff. Like I'm like, whatever, it's summer. Play. We'll clean it up later. You know.
Make me mad just talking about
you get an anxiety attack if that happens. So like I'm a little more chill with stuff like that. But then when it came to our kids having phones or screens, you were more like, it's fine. We're just going to manage it. We're going to teach them how to control it. And I was like, they shouldn't have anything till they're 25.
Right,
I feel like we were opposite on that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely difficult when those situations arise.
Yes.
I think a big thing to remember is don't dig in. Don't dig into your point of view. Like truly listen to the other person and their experience and see it from their point of view and see if maybe there's value there. Maybe there's something you didn't know. Maybe there's a reason you're afraid, especially, with like stuff like phones or dating as the kids get older. Where is your fear coming from that you want to restrict that? And is that something that's specific to you that you're projecting on your family? Like, oh, well, I had a bad experience when I was a kid, so I can't trust my kids. Well, is that the right way to handle it? Or is it like, I had a bad experience, so how can I make this better for my family and avoid that?
Yeah.
And I think you and I have really come together well on those topics of like, how do we make this our family and not, we're both bringing in our childhood.
Yeah. I really believe that it's harder to do that, then it's harder to do than just to say it. It's easy just
Sure,
to say, "Hey, don't dig in." I find in my life that that actually is kind of really hard to do,
it
and
is.
I'll tell you why. Pride,
Mhm.
pride always sneaks in. Like um, marriage, whether we want to admit it or not, can become competitive.
Mhm.
Family versus family, my upbringing versus your upbringing. I'm right, you're wrong. Like that competitive nature can sneak its way into marriages,
Yeah.
and so when you say don't dig in, this has taken us a while to get to this place,
Right.
especially in the heat of the moment.
Mhm.
Little things like kids running through the house, and you're right there, and you just don't care.
Mhm.
Pride can sneak in.
Yeah.
Moodiness, you can be in a bad mood. That
Yeah.
mood can sneak in to where you really do dig in your heels and like,
Yeah.
no, this is ridiculous. And then an argument starts, and then it's a back and forth, and no one's
Yeah.
going to win in that moment. And
Right.
so I love the way that you said that. And just don't think that your opinion is so big, and I am so right on this, that you can't take a step back, take a deep breath, and
Yeah.
realize actually there might be another scenario where this is right. There might be
Right.
another way that this is going to work, rather than I know exactly how to fix this,
Yeah.
when sometimes we don't.
Yeah. Going through life, it was so beneficial. I had parents that really had a mindset of nothing is a big deal. And they really tried to instill that in us. Like, there's no reason to get upset. Nothing's a big deal. We can handle it. And they really put forth this front, both of them did, of like everything can work out, and as a kid, that is an awesome thing to have, that mindset. And obviously, there are times where stuff is a big deal. But if you go into it with, I can handle this
Hmm.
and it will be okay, kind of your baseline mental state is, I can handle what's coming at me.
Right,
I
right.
think that's a great attitude to have, even in raising kids. It's
Yeah.
like, look, there's no perfect parent and there's no perfect parenting strategy. We're all learning as we go. And so if you have the mental, state of, it's okay, it's not a big deal. We talk about little things like the kids running in and out of the house, and that bothers you and it doesn't bother me. But you've learned to realize, like, it's summer, it's not a big deal,
Yeah.
even if it frustrates you, like, we'll clean up later. And I've learned, things too, like with the phone situation. You know what? This is not a big deal. It's a screen. We can take it away. It's not like we give them something and, oh, they're going to be addicted. Like, take it away
Right,
for a while.
right.
Put a governor on it so it shuts off at a certain time of day and they only get so many hours. Like, it can be controlled and it's not a big deal. And
Right.
I think that approach to parenting, like, everyone stay calm, it's going to be
Yeah.
okay, is
Good.
probably the most beneficial. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what you were saying of, you know, pushing that pride back
Right.
and leading by example.
So there's some really good strategies for disagreements in the home, whether your kids are young and or like us, we're raising teenagers now, coming those
Hmm.
teen years. The first one is communicate openly,
Yeah.
and this is something that's not always easy, especially
Yeah.
in the moment.
Hmm.
But take a moment, take a step back,
Yeah.
and begin to communicate. Let's talk through this. Let's
Yeah.
understand, um, why do you see it this way, and why do I see it this way? And even if I know we keep going back to kids running through the house, or cleanliness, but we do bring a lot of our childhood along with us.
Right.
It's
You
there.
do.
It's in. It's for me the reason. If you're listening to this, you're like, that is ridiculous. Why would you? It's your house. Like, why? Well, I was brought up in a very clean house,
Hmm.
and lines in the carpet every day, and just that I've brought with me, and
Hmm.
so I have to learn to communicate that. Like,
Hmm.
it's not saying it's right, and it's not saying it's wrong. It's my upbringing that I've brought into our marriage
Absolutely.
relationship. So it's talking through that where you can then lean into, okay, honey, yeah, that's great. And once or twice a week we can get to that place, but we live in this house, and
Yes.
7 people live in this house. So we
Yeah.
can't always be in this mode. And then I've got to take a step back and say, oh, you're right. You know
Hmm.
what? Okay, I gotta relax. I've got whatever Lamaze breathing or whatever I gotta do to get myself hyped up for this.
Yeah.
It's just communicating,
It
and
is.
that's where we miss out. If you don't start there, it's always going to be an argument. It's
Hmm.
always going to be, we don't agree. Well, You can't always, well, I just agree to disagree.
Hmm.
That does build up in a relationship, and
Right.
eventually it's going to boil over. So the first is, I would say, communicate openly.
Yeah.
What's our second?
Secondly, is compromise and present a united front.
Hmm.
Definitely compromise. That is the name of the game in marriage. It's the name of the game in parenting. And it's really a wonderful attribute to have as a person in life in general. You
Right.
cannot always have your way. You just can't. Like people that are raised where they always get their way in their home, that's a detriment to you as an adult. And I think that's without exception
Mm.
because that's impossible. It's unrealistic to think that you are going to get your way all the time. And I will say this, I'll take it a step further. If, as a grown adult in a marriage, in a home, you are always getting your way, I'm going to say your partner's probably extremely unhappy, even if you don't know it. Like there's no situation in which one person should always get their way. That's just not realistic and it's not fair. Compromise in a relationship is a beautiful gift and it's a wonderful thing to give your partner and to give your children, where sometimes you have to set your pride down and sometimes you have to say it's okay if someone else has it their way. And I think that's a beautiful gift to give someone. You should present a united front as a couple, um, but that doesn't mean the kids can't see the struggle. That doesn't mean the kids can't see the action of compromise. And I think that's a beautiful thing too, that if you allow your children to see you working through the process and working through the problem as a couple, um, that's an awesome thing for them to see. There have been
Mhm.
times I actually just think of last night when Nora, came home and she was crying and I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "You said I could spend the night with cousins, but dad said no." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Why did he say no?" And she said, "I don't know." So I went to you and I said, "Hey, did you want Nora to spend the night or no?" And we kind of talked through those reasons. And I knew she could hear us from the other room, but it wasn't an argument because it wasn't a big deal. I didn't care. I wasn't like dug in, she has to spend the night, whatever. If she does, great. If she doesn't, there's other times. But we had a discussion over like what's good for this moment. And she heard the whole thing. And in the end, you were like, okay, she can spend the night, but she has to have this and this done first.
Right.
And she got to watch that process.
Hmm.
So I like presenting a united front, but I don't think it should be the old school united front of like, well, whatever your dad says is what we're gonna do. But then they see the mom being bitter and angry about it,
Hmm.
or the dad's like, I don't know, I don't run this house. Go ask your mom. That's not a united front. That's one person dominating everyone else, and that's not right.
Right.
A united front is letting the kids see the process of how do we compromise and come to an agreement. And I even told Nora before I went in there, I said, if dad said no, that's what's going to stand because I'm sure he has a good reason. Like I totally covered your back on that because I
Right.
trust you and I knew
Right.
there was probably something she needed to do first. And so compromise and have a united front, but I would go about it in a way that's not bitter and not giving one person all the control. You need to let your kids and your family see this is an area where we're going to come together and we're going to agree and we're going to come to a good decision
Right.
together.
There's two things there. Number one, as you said, have each other's back. I do
Yes.
love that. Um, Too many times we see in marriage relationships, we are hurting a younger generation because the one spouse is making the other spouse look bad.
Right.
It is well, if it were up to me, I would let you, but that
Yeah.
hurts the testimony
Yes.
of the other parent to that kid.
Yeah.
It's, or like you said, or parents go back and forth. Well, I don't run this family. All you're getting a dig in on your spouse in front
Yep.
of your kids. You're
Yep.
getting one on the chalkboard. Like I gotta dig in. It's very immature and
Yeah.
it's very foolish because it does hurt the relationship.
Yeah.
And let me just add to that, there should not be a parent that is known for they always say yes and
Mm,
one parent that's they always say no.
right.
There needs to be a united front in a way that it's not, ooh, I'm the fun parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, come ask me because I always say yes. Again, that makes the other parent look bad.
Hmm.
You're puffing yourself up like I'm the fun one. I'm the cool one. Come
Hmm.
ask me. Well, if it were up to me, I would let you, but
Yeah.
old fuddy duddy over there, a united front is realizing your marriage relationship comes first, the
Hmm.
kids come second.
Yeah.
So I said again, your marriage relationship comes first, your kids come second.
Yes.
Even when it comes to those who are listening and you're in a divorce situation, you have step parents, and even be careful not making the other step parent look bad.
Hmm.
Well, when your dad married so and so, blah blah. It's being the adult in the room,
Yeah.
um, or well, come live with me because when you live with me, I'm going to let you do all this. No, keep it in the context of I get maybe it was an ugly divorce, but make sure we are the ones that are acting like the adults.
Yes.
We're not trying to get the dig in. We're not
Hmm.
trying to get one up on
Yeah.
whether you're married, divorced, remarried. Just remember, be the mature one in the room.
Yeah.
Don't let your kids be the one that they're in the middle and you're trying to be the cool one
Hmm.
based on getting your dig in on a spouse for
Yeah.
sure.
And I will say this kind of goes hand in hand. It's a little side note, but defend your spouse.
Yeah.
As your kids get older, they will let their feelings be known, and that's okay. They should be able to do that in the home, but they should not ever be allowed to do it disrespectfully toward a parent, an adult, or an adult.
Right.
Like there's a way to say things, but if your kids are like, "Oh, I can't stand, dad. He's always says no. He doesn't understand," and they're being angry and
Mhm.
and disparaging your name. Oh, I am coming for them.
Right.
They are not allowed to say those things to me. You are not allowed to feel that way about your dad.
Right.
You can have your feelings, but you are not allowed to take it that far and gossip about him behind his
Mhm.
back. Like if you, and I've told our kids that before, if you have a problem with your dad, we're going to go straight to him and you're going to tell him how you feel.
Yeah.
You don't get to sit here and go off. Now they're allowed to come to me and say, I got upset because dad said this and whatever, and I'll say, okay, come on, we're going to go talk to dad. You're going to tell him how you feel. But you can't let your children have that disrespect towards your spouse and see you accept it
Right.
and even agree with it. That's not right. You don't do that. If they start to do that and they cross the line of disrespect or gossip about you or your spouse, then it's time to step in.
Right.
And that will be good. That's healthy for them to see. Like
Absolutely.
mom's got dad's back and dad's going to take care of mom.
Yeah.
That's
It's
good.
good. Okay, let's move. We're gonna have to move a little bit faster, Kara. Let's go to. There's always questions. Let me set it, and then I'll ask you. How do you balance authority
Hmm.
and being a friend with your kids in the home? And we see parenting nowadays. There is this soft parenting that has
Hmm.
come in, and let's skip this last one, and we'll probably hit that our next topic
Okay.
because
Yeah.
that is a big one today. But there's this kind of, especially amongst millennials, this soft parenting that has come into play where
Hmm.
it's just we don't want to upset our kids.
Yeah.
We don't want to hurt them.
Hmm.
There was, I'll be light here. We don't make it dark, but there was a lot of abuse that
Hmm.
took place 20, 30 years ago in homes,
Hmm.
Christian and non-Christian. And so instead of like finding this balance, parents have now taken it to the extreme.
Hmm.
Well, I was disciplined in a way that was very abusive and it hurt.
Yeah.
There's harm, there's a lot of counseling that has gone
Hmm.
on. So I don't want to do that to my kids. So I'm just going to let them do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Um, they can pitch fits if they want, they can roll the house if they want, they can pick whatever gender.
Hmm.
You just do, you live however you want to. So we see that spectrum, that way over here, and then we see the pendulum swing to the other side,
Hmm.
and that is you don't get to ask questions. You just do as I say.
Yeah.
You're treating a 13, 14-year-old like they're three.
Hmm.
There's no growing up. There's no process of parenting.
Hmm.
We see both ends. So how do you find the balance of being the authority in the home but also leaning into your kids and having a good balanced friendship with them?
Yeah. I think boundaries are the main thing. It's okay to be friends with your kids. I don't like when people say, oh, I'm not friends with my kids. That's not parenting.
Doesn't that irk you?
It does.
It
I'm
does
like,
me too.
why? it is the most wonderful friendships I have in the world are with my
That's
children
great.
and you.
It's beautiful.
And I love it. I absolutely love being friends with my
You
kids.
said, and you.
And by the way, you.
Thanks. I'm number 6 in this family.
No, that's assumed because I married you. So obviously, you're my number one friend. But after you, yeah, I love my friendship with my children.
Me too.
But there is no doubt that I am the authority and that there are boundaries there. And I think I'm very confident. I feel like I could put all 5 of them on this podcast and ask them, you know, is your mom in charge? And they would say resounding yes.
Yeah,
And, you
yeah.
know, that definitely comes from boundaries. Our kids have some old, we gave them for Christmas, you know, some screens. They were old iPads and stuff used that we had, you know, we were going to get rid of or whatever. So we have a friendship there, and that we'll game together on the iPads. You
Mhm.
know, we'll have games, and that's like a friendship thing. You know, we talk about our games and our scores and things like that. But the boundaries of parental authority come in when their downtime comes on,
Right.
and they're like, "Mom, can you know put in the password?" And I'm like, "No, you have downtime for a reason. Get your face off the screen." And so that authority comes in. Yes, I'm their friend. I'll game with you. We'll have fun. But when it comes time to do the right thing, I am the adult and my word stands, and that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, it's good.
And so I think boundaries are the most important. Like, you can do both. I don't
Yes.
know why people think if you're friends with your kids, it ruins your authority, or if the opposite, you know, if I have authority, then I can't be friends with them. None of that is true. You absolutely can do both. I was raised with a mom that we were genuinely afraid of. Like, she would paddle us at the drop of a hat if we disrespected her or mouthed off. I mean, we were genuinely like, she is terrifying. Don't cross her. You know? But at the same time, we loved being with my mom.
Isn't that
We
cool?
adored her. She would lay on our beds and talk. She would ask us about our friends. We read books together. We shopped together. She was our best friend growing up,
Right.
and still is to this day.
Right.
But I'm still a little bit afraid of her, for sure.
I am too. So let me ask you, Kara, then, you say set boundaries,
Mhm.
okay? So you set boundaries. You are a friend to our kids now. We have
Mhm.
5 of them. We're
Yeah.
raising. You're friends with them. But there are boundaries
Yeah.
that you are the authoritarian. When
Mhm.
you say get up, they're getting up. You say
Yes.
clean up, they are. So what about a parent that's young and you're trying to lean into their life, you love them, you're mentoring them, but now they begin to push those boundaries.
Mhm.
When does a parent realize, okay, we're starting to swing too far this way?
Mhm.
Like I'm a friend with them, but now it's like I'm becoming a pushover. And it's usually not overnight, like it's slow. What is a trigger that, or what is a sign that a parent can see? Okay, now I've got to start leaning back the other way. Like
Mhm.
I'm too much of a friend,
Mhm.
and or the opposite. Like I'm too hard on this kid, which would
Yeah.
be me. You know, constantly correcting.
Mhm.
What are some signs that parents would pick up that that boundary is moving?
Disrespect is the number one. You know,
That's
if
good.
if
I
you have
like
a
that.
friendship relationship and they're allowed to disrespect you and they don't care, it's over. You've lost control. You've lost, you know, their respect. That's a sign when you need to pull back a little bit. The best thing you can do for your kids is be better than them.
Yeah,
The best thing you can do for your kids is to be better than them right now while they're small.
set the example.
Set the example.
Yeah.
If I want my kids to work hard and be hard workers, I have to work harder than them.
Mm.
If I want my daughters to know how to cook, I have to make dinner. Shut up. I about backhanded. My hand about went like this. I knew you were going to do that.
So anyways, what are you saying? Cooking in the kitchen, cleaning. Or
This is a real podcast. I did not say cleaning. That is your category.
I might have added that one. I pushed the boundary.
I'm going to call my mom over here.
Oh boy,
She's coming for you. But it's true. I mean, yes, absolutely. That applies to
I
me.
love
I
that. That's
have not
great.
been great lately at cooking dinners by obviously my
We've had a
husband's
busy life.
scoff.
I like your cooking. That's why I like you cooking.
I know. But you have to set the example. If
You
you
do.
want them to be good communicators and have healthy friendships at school, You have to have healthy friendships. They have to see you going out with your friends. They have to see you going to dinner with a friend. They have to see you having people over and being a good friend.
Mm.
My goal in life is to be better than my children. That might sound weird because most parents are like, oh, I want you to be better than me. No, I want to be better than you because I want to forge a path that's easy for you to walk.
It's
My
good,
kids are
yeah.
not going to wonder how I should do this or how I should do that. They're going to see it.
Yeah,
They're going to say,
yeah,
I know how to do that because my mom already showed me.
right.
So I think in a friendship relationship, that's the best thing to do is stay ahead of them. Stay ahead of them, lead by example. When you lose that and they start becoming smarter than you and better than you, then you've lost their respect.
Yeah.
And that's
So
not good.
disrespect, you'd say, number one.
Yeah. What
That's
about you
so
with
good.
the authority?
Um, I I think it does come back to. Let me just put this down.
Yeah.
I really believe you are a great parent. I told you
Thanks.
that this morning. I think and that's why I've let you talk, um, mostly through this because I feel like I'm still learning. I'm
Oh my
41,
word,
but
babe.
I am no, I am. I love to learn. I love this. I love reading books on it. Um, I love listening to parenting podcasts because I am feel like I'm constantly learning.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my number one. I'm called to preach,
Yeah.
and I'm married, so
Mm-hmm.
the kids are kind of like they're my
Low on.
family, but it's one of those I have to really work at. Like, oh yeah, I need to do this better.
Yeah.
Um, I so going back to that question, I do believe disrespect is there, but
Mm-hmm.
then I believe communicating and asking your spouse.
Mm.
I ask you and you ask me often, what do you think about this?
Mm-hmm.
Because the other person gives introspective into your life that you might not realize.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think I'm doing this right? Do you think I was wrong by allowing them to go here or be this or download this app? Like, I think sometimes you can see the pendulum begin to move,
Mm-hmm.
or as you put it, that boundary is moving
Mm-hmm.
by asking someone else.
Mm.
And I think a lot of times how I don't see it in my own life, like maybe they are being disrespectful, or I see it when they do to you, like
Mm-hmm.
back talking you, or like I will chime in immediately. But sometimes in my own life, I don't see it. And
Yeah.
so by getting your opinion
Mm-hmm.
makes a massive difference. Like, yeah, actually, I was not real comfortable that you let her download that,
Mm.
Disney Plus app, like they're 9 and or whatever,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden I can rebalance, I can readjust,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of bring it back.
So if you're the more authoritarian parent
I am.
and you feel like I'm losing that, I'm losing that, element of relationship with my kids.
Right.
Like I'm just guiding them, but they don't come to me anymore.
Right.
They don't ask me stuff. Like how do you integrate back into I want a little bit more of a friendship with them. I want a little bit more
Right.
of a relationship with them.
One, I watch you because
Mm.
you're brilliant at this, and I see our kids drawn to you not because like, oh, you say yes all the time. It's because they have a great relationship. They tell
Mhm.
you every day from school everything that every kid said
They
in
do.
an annoying way. So I
It
look at
is.
that like, oh, okay, then that's what I need to be because I want
Yeah.
that relationship. And when I see it, I immediately fix it.
Mhm.
So, for instance, this week I told London, "Hey, I have enough stars. Do you want to go get a canister from Starbucks?"
She
Like,
talked about that
yeah, so it's
nonstop.
great.
It was
Tommy
so cute.
had a friend over, and we took the friend home. And on the way back, I was like, this is a great time to talk. So
Yeah.
we did. We opened up a conversation. Then
Yeah.
we sat in the driveway for 10 more minutes,
Yeah.
just talking and have a good time and
I love that.
laughing. And Tommy loves to talk about the future, like
Yeah.
dating in the future and driving and those. So I'll lean into that. I'll daydream with him and
Yeah.
kind of lay it out. But again, it is watching you and you're great at it, but then
Mm.
fixing it right away.
Mhm.
Not be like, oh, I need to pray about this. I don't need to pray about it. Like
Yeah.
I need to be a friend. Like my Abba Father is a friend with me.
I love that.
He's an authoritarian. He loves me. He corrects me, but he also is my very best friend.
Yes.
And I got to work on those things right away. Jump in and fix
Yeah.
them for
I
sure.
love that. That's a great balance to have, and it's so important that just those little times of communication. So Tommy and I set up about a year ago. We would get in the car and be alone together once in a while, And we kind of ran out of stuff, to talk about. And
Right.
so I said, okay, let's do this. I said, you're allowed to ask me one question, anything, and I have to tell you. And then I'm allowed to ask you one question, anything, and you have to tell me. Like
That's
it
cool.
was, and it could be anything,
Right.
which was scary.
Yeah, it's
as a
dangerous.
parent. And so,
I
but
think
we've done
you
that.
need to play this game.
Let's not. But we've done that, and it's not often because we're not often alone together. But it's so much fun because he'll ask
Mhm.
something about the past, and I'm like, oh, you're digging up deep in the past, or something about my childhood. But then I get to ask him anything, and he's, we always joke and say like, we can't tell anyone,
Yeah.
these are the deepest, darkest secrets. But
Good.
it's given us such a relationship that, I mean, it's just so special. So I love that you had those times too.
Yeah.
Like it's really neat for both parents to chime in there. But then also I do love the balance where, I trust you to be the authority. If you say no about something or yes about something that I don't necessarily agree with, there's times that even after a discussion, I have to trust you and I have to
Right.
go with that. And that's a really healthy way to parent when, you're both feeling like chiming back to that compromise.
Yeah.
You're both feeling like, okay, I've won some, I've lost some, you've won some, you've lost some. But overall, our family is healthy and communicating and open.
That's cool.
And I think that's important.
So let's close this out, Karen. Let's say this. Number one, keep learning.
Yes.
Don't stop growing
Yeah.
in this area. Number two is don't wait.
Mhm.
I think sometimes like, oh well, we signed up for parenting tips in this conference, and it's next October. In 6 months we're gonna go, and then we're gonna work on things.
Yeah.
You don't have 6 months. You
Mm-mm.
don't have 6 weeks. Like time
Yeah.
is flying. Our son. It's funny. We'll look back at this podcast one day, and our son will be, raising kids.
Oh my word.
It'll fly. It flies by. So you can't wait. Just like when I see, oh, I need to do this. It's not, well, next Monday I'll start in. It's right now.
Yeah.
Like I got to change this. I'm going to change it right now because we only get our kids for a little while.
Mhm.
They're gifted to us, and it goes by so fast.
Absolutely.
Next week we'll kind of start looking
Mhm.
at some roles of extended family, which should be a lot of fun. And
That
then
will be fun.
let's talk about soft parenting as well.
Yeah.
That question's coming up quite a bit.
Great.
So.
Sounds good. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you next week.